Good misty morning, fellow Master Gardeners. This is Sandy Murad, Garland County Master Gardeners, and I'm doing a different version of tool time. The one you saw previously is all about power tools, and I'm just not a power tool kind of gal. So, I have an assortment of things here, and a lot of them are ideas that I stole from other Master Gardeners. This tool was given to me, and it is, can you see that? This is a digger to help your back and to pop up taprooted plants. I find that because my garden and a lot of the gardens we're in are not level, and a lot of the time I am trying to get out of a flower bed without stepping on something, and I use this a lot as a third arm so I can get in and around and do things with it. This little hand rake is one of the first tools my husband bought for me, and it'll get in and under perennials, around perennials. It's really a tough little hand rake, and I've really enjoyed using it a lot. This, I'm sure a lot of you have seen before. This is just a little hand claw, but the handle is a little bit longer than you usually see. And this version of it is thanks to Hildy Simmons. Hildy uses something like this when we're working on the projects, and you can buy these, but they're this big. They're designed for row crop gardening, and so they really don't work in perennial beds. You know, they're just too big. The gaps in between are like this, and they just really don't work. So we decided that this would be the project. So my husband cut this off of a smaller version of this and attached it to a handle for me, and then cut off the handle because it was too big to fit in, too long to fit into the trunk of my car. This little guy. Now, I stole this idea from Cheryl Volkert, and it's a little teeny tiny rake. This little teeny tiny rake is the bomb for spreading mulch. You can get in there. I got this at Sutherland's. Haven't even used it yet. Its little tines are as clean as they're ever going to be. And it works really well to get in. There's several versions of this, but they're tough. Their tines are close together, actually even closer than these, which is more for leaves. The tines are close together, and you can get in there and move things around and spread mulch like there's no tomorrow. And if you look at these tools, all of these, except this one, have pink tape on them. This one's shiny, new, clean pink tape because it's a new tool. And I use that to show which tools are mine, because a lot of us have the same tools. We all work together, and we all have the same tools. This is something I've had and used for years. A lot of you have these shovels. Some of you call it a sharpshooter. Coming from the west, we call it a drain shovel. When you're trying to transplant a large plant, this thing is worth its weight in gold. You can really get down and get underneath the root ball and get a good lift, which is unusual for most things. And this is my other little favorite. I washed it. That's what the water dripping off of it is. I washed it today. This is called a lady shovel. Got this at Lowe's. I got this idea from, oh gosh, now I can't remember her name. Well, Gwen Southard. Gwen Southard has one of these, and so does Sheila McClarty. And they are just the handiest little thing. You can get in and around in a perennial bed, dig things up, move around, and it's not so huge. You know, a big shovel like this is really great if you're moving large amounts of something. But look at that. You can get in there with this little guy and you can move around. And a lot of what we're doing is perennial beds or beds full of annuals. And that makes it so much easier. So, hand tools. We have a number of hand tools. You know, you get a group of master gardeners together and we all talk about tools. My husband and I have a deal, and that means that I have to dig my own holes. And you know that in Arkansas, particularly Hot Springs, there are a lot of rocks. So this little guy I found, I was looking for something because I'd been on several of the projects and I'd seen people with hand axes. So I was at Lowe's and I found this one. And this one is amazing. This is probably 4 pounds. You can get some just incredible torque on it. Now there are times when this is not quite enough. I planted a Jane Magnolia, saucer magnolia down in the woodlot, and Debbie Atchison came over with the spade version of that power auger that Claudette showed you in the previous tool video, and dug down because we needed a big hole and it was very, very rocky. But normally in the yard I can dig a hole this big around and this deep pretty well with this axe and a shovel. So it's the weight that makes the difference with this. You can get so much power. My husband calls it my Game of Thrones tool. My next weapon of choice is my Hori Hori knife. I've had this puppy for, since about 1993. I was apprenticing with Elk Mountain Herbs, and I went out wildcrafting in the mountains with Carol and Karn from Elk Mountain Herbs, and they both had this tool, and it's called a Hori Hori knife. H-O-R-I-H-O-R-I. It's a Japanese weeding tool. And this thing, if I was stuck on a desert island with one tool, I want this. You can saw, it's got a little serrated edge. It's got heft. It's got a full tang. This one, I just can't imagine. I keep giving these to people because to me it is the perfect tool. And another little Japanese weeding tool is this little puppy, and I was online looking to buy some more Hori Hori knives for people, and I found this little guy, and it's a kind of weeding hoe. Can you see the shape? And it's got a sharp edge here, it's got a nice point here. You can get into cracks with it. But one of the best things I found is like taking it and going underneath. You know those little bitty weeds that come up in the middle of your beds, and there are a ton of them, and they're all together, and they're this big. You can get underneath that and just scrape them up in the dirt, and then spread out your dirt and pull them out because they've had their little roots chopped right off. This thing's a thing of joy. Pruners. We all have our favorite pruners. This is my favorite pair of pruners. This is by Ironwood, and Ironwood comes to the Master Gardener plant sale. And my husband has a pair of Ironwood pruners that are bigger than this and have a bigger loop for people with hands, and they're ratcheting. Oh yeah, he thought he lost them recently. I had to buy him a new pair. And then the garden fairies brought his old one back as soon as, and literally an hour after that one was delivered. We also have a couple of other ironwood tools. So this is a limbing saw, and it ratchets up and down, goes up to 17 feet. It has its own little sheath, and if I can remember how to take it off, I can show it to you. There you go, maybe. Obviously, I don't use this one. My husband has told me don't buy him any more toys because usually I'm putting him to work. You know how that goes. This thing, if you look, has a really intense parrot beak, and it has a hook up here on this end so that you can pull things down. This is called the tiger claw saw, and I have to say, it's pretty amazing. Like I said, it'll go up to 17 feet. You can see why I don't use it. It'll go up to 17 feet, and it really saves a lot of energy and effort when you're trying to get those limbs. And I would say it'll take anything up to about 2.5, 3 inches in diameter, because I've watched him do that. Of course, he usually says bad words at the end, but you know, that's the way it goes. So this handy dandy little tote is again something I stole the idea from Paula Page. She showed up with one at one of the projects, and I went, well, that's just a perfect thing. So another thing I keep in here is a little saw, not as big as that one. But this works really good for small limbs, getting close to things, kind of like the Loppers. And one of my favorite new tools is another ironwood. It's a pair of sheep shears. You know, when you're trimming boxwoods or azaleas and you just need to do that, this works like a dream for that. Alcohol. Alcohol is our friend. When you're moving, you should always have one in your tote, a bottle of alcohol. You can sterilize your tools as you go along. You know, then you're not transferring diseases from one plant to another or one bed to another. It's just a handy thing to have around. Okay, we're into the pit. Because we got to pruning. This pair of loppers, we all have one like this, and they're wonderful. They'll take anything up to about 1 inch in diameter. You get it down into the bottom of the jaws and whack, and it's just a thing of joy. But you get much bigger than that, and this is another ironwood tool. Now, I don't use this thing very often. It's kind of a beast, really. It's a ratcheting lopper. You hold it in one place and work it like that. It'll extend out quite a ways, and actually you do best with it extended. Actually, you know, if you do it extending one side further than the other, so you can get the power on the uphill hill stroke and then it's easier to hold it on the bottom. But this thing will take out all kinds of big, fat branches, and that makes me happy because it does it without a tremendous amount of effort. I mean, nothing's without effort. We all know that. But we do try to use our tools to make things easier. Like I said, I'm a hand tool gal, and this is my group of goodies. Thank you.